What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining in on the Breakout Room podcast. This is our very first episode, and I am elated. We got a big topic today that we're going to discuss, and that is the reality of healing. All right. Healing is talked about often, and we want to unpack it here on the Breakout Room. Our main three things here at the Breakout Room is to transform thinking, to break paradigms, and to shift perspectives. I have my sister, Jamila Barnes, here today. This lady here, I've known her for about 8 years. She has a wealth of wisdom. She has over 40 years worth of experience and wisdom that she's going to share with us today. Jamila, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Burbro. I call him Burbro. I just want to say first, thank you so much for having me here, and I'm
For
so
sure.
proud of you.
Thank
Um,
you.
I am 47-year-old mother who is a recovering addict, and my addiction was self-sabotage. And I know we like to associate addictions to some type of chemical drug or like alcohol or etc. But that wasn't my story. That is not my story. My story is I did have an addiction and it was to self
Uh,
sabotage. And I am here to
mhm.
share in hopes that my story will be a blessing to someone else.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Okay, so you said I'm an addict. I was an addict. I'm addicted to self-sabotage. So let's unpack that. All right. So we're talking about healing, the reality of healing. When you experience traumatic things and things that you go through in life, whether it be something that you might have done or something that was done to you, it can lead to trauma. It can lead to self-sabotage. It can lead to all of those different kinds of things. So when would you say, when you first started your healing process, what did that look like? What does the healing mean to you and it look like as pertains to you acknowledging, hey, this was my issue. This is what I struggled with. But what would you say your healing journey look like as it pertains to that?
Um, Actually, my healing process started a long time ago. And that's the beauty of healing. It will start its own process before you decide to submit to it. Now, my
Right.
moment of submission started 3.5, maybe 4 years ago.
Wow.
Um, and it was a moment where I was at a place in my life and I had to ask myself, what do I want and what do I want to do? What am I going to do about it? And I didn't know necessarily what that looked like, but I knew there was areas in my life where I wasn't happy. And there was an area, a point in my life where my healing was telling me, I'm not letting you have the opportunity to place it on any other thing. This is something you're going to have to sit in. And I want to share with people a healthier perspective on healing. Healing is
Hmm.
very invasive. Healing is going to be
Yes.
very offensive.
Uh-huh.
It's going to offend you because you don't want to be bothered, right? And healing comes to bother you. So once I got in that space where healing was not going to allow me the opportunity to blame, and I didn't know that that's what I was doing. And typically that's the issue. You don't know that you're doing that. Once I started to get to the point where I couldn't move, I had to sit in it and I had to figure out and I had to become attracted to the benefits that I started to see with the healing in order for me to continue the healing. I didn't know that that's what was happening. I didn't know
Right, right.
that the healing was happening. But once my mind became sound, which is what I interpret healing is, a sound mind, to be able to assess well. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And in your journey, right? In the process of you figuring all of that out, was there ever a moment that you felt that let me ask it this way. Was there ever a moment that you felt that you compared your healing journey to someone else's? Because here's one thing that I believe. I believe that healing is not parallel, right? I believe that two people can go through the same experience. They can experience the same trauma. They can experience the same thing. However, how they deal with it, how they cope with it, how they respond with it how they process and internalize it will be two totally different ways because they're two totally different people, even though they went through the same experience. So as you went through or are going through your journey of healing, um, was there ever a moment where you compared your healing process to that of someone else's?
I did unconsciously, and both unconscious and consciously. And the only difference is with me, or if anyone else can relate to this, I chose to have an optimistic way of seeing it though. And what I
Okay.
mean by that, my mother and my father both experienced traumatic experiences in their life, and it took them down two different roads. It took my mother down the road of clinging more to God, and she just decided to dive right into her spiritual walk with Him. At the same time, though, I still was able to see crippling moments with that, and I can see how that can also be an addiction, because you don't you it saves you from harming yourself, but it doesn't aid to you living,
Mm,
because sometimes trauma will keep you in a fearful place. And if you just do it how God would like for you to do it in that way only, it kind of boxes you in. And I don't want to misconstrue that, but it makes you become nervous to reach out, because maybe if I do that way, I end up this way. So I saw it from that perspective, and then also witnessed it from my father's perspective that took him down a road of addictions to cope.
okay.
So I was
Okay.
able to see it from two different perspectives. And what it taught me was what to stay away from with my dad. I was able to say what, so I did compare, and I said, well, if I don't do it that route, that can keep me from that. But what it told me is decided to, from two different perspectives, it built a young girl to say, ain't nothing taking me out. This ain't taking me out. And I think I processed it with a judgmental mindset
Hmm.
of, well, I'm not them. And so that was my comparison. It was optimistic,
Right.
but at the same time, it was in a way of, well, I ain't gonna let that take me out. Cause to me, that
Hmm.
was so sorry. But
Yeah.
this will lead to my humbling space later in life, where I said, I kind of felt like my dad cowered out to it.
Okay.
And I looked at my mom, she overcame it.
Mm.
So you understand what I'm saying? But then
Yeah.
later on
Yeah.
in life, being maturity taught me something different. And
Hmm.
if need be, I share that later. But yeah, that was my version
Yeah.
of comparing.
So with that, did you expect healing to be linear, or did you have a different picture in your mind as to what that looked like for you?
Depending. In some
Hmm.
phases of my life, healing, I felt like should have been, I said like this, what I thought was going to be the easy fight wasn't.
Hmm.
And what I thought was
Right.
going to be the difficult fight. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes and no. It was phases in my life where I felt like this should be just a easy breezy. And then there was phases in my life where I'm like, oh, this is just going to take too long, so I'm going to avoid it. So it was a up and down. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I asked that because you saw um you made a point that you saw life kind of from two different perspectives. You said your mom, she overcame it. And then you said like your dad kind of went the opposite route.
I
So
put that in
there's
quotes.
there's two. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So there's a different outlook on it that you have. And I really love that. So in your own words, what does it mean that healing is not linear? And in your own words, what would you say the meaning that healing is not linear?
I mean, because you start your healing process, right? And the moment of relief is always present. Like that's what we want. We want relief. We want relief when we're hungry. We want relief if we have a headache. We want relief if we're tired. We want relief when we need our paycheck to come on and hit that account. So we're
Hello.
always in the space of needing relief, right? And so when you start your process of healing, that it's a thing what they call unpacking. Well, when you start unpacking, you learn something else that'll veer you. And then you got to sit with that, and then it veers you. So you have to you have to learn to center yourself because you can make a mess with your unpacking. You can make a mess
Mm.
because you unpack this. This may be a trigger, and you don't want to tend to it, so you move away from that, and then you see that, and then you may feel more comfortable because it ain't triggering you that much. You stay with that longer than you should, and then you so it that yeah, that would be my example. I hope I'm explaining it
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
well
yeah,
enough.
you're explaining, and you led, and that's perfect because you led into my next point that I want to ask you is to you mentioned trigger, right? You brought up triggering or being triggered.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I, as a matured and maturing 28-year-old man, I've
Mhm.
realized that
Mhm.
as you go through life and experience trauma and experience pain and experience those kind of things, as you make an intentional journey to heal, there will be some triggers. You will be triggered. It is not up for question. It is not probable. It is inevitable. You will, at some point, while you are in the journey of healing, you will be triggered. And I think that a lot of people don't realize the
Mm.
severity sometimes of those triggers. And even in the smallest ways that one can be triggered, a smell can cause a memory,
Yes.
which can cause a trigger. Taste can cause a memory, which can cause a trigger. There are so many different, various ways whereby someone can be triggered. So, and as you're going through your journey and your healing, what would you say to someone who is in the process of healing, but they're triggered? They get triggered by something, and it makes them remember that pain that they experienced, or makes them remember that traumatic experience that they faced. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm gonna put it into because I don't want to be come off like I'm dismissing someone's experience because triggers are real and they are very sensitive. So I'm gonna put it in a physical form. Um, we both can acknowledge that triggers are just indicators that something is
Yes.
needing to be attended to. And so if you put it in a physical form, if I haven't seen you, Murray, in a while, and we see each other, and you run up to me and you grab me and give me this exciting hug, and I all of a sudden react out of pain,
Mm,
um, and say, "Oh, why you do that? Why you hugging me like that?" You know, and you don't know. I've placed you in a point where you trying to figure out why. What happened? Well, I have a wound, right, that you're not aware of. I have a wound
hmm
right here on on my shoulder here that I haven't attended to. For whatever
mm,
reason, could be I don't have the insurance, I don't have the money to go see the doctor, or I'm just
right.
weighing it out to see if it's gonna leave on its own. You know what we come up
hmm
with while we don't go tend to certain things. In that moment, it was easy for me to say you were the blame for that trigger. When in
mm.
actuality, it's an undealt with wound that you
That's
triggered
good.
just from giving me a
That's good.
gentle hug. Just you hugged me and you just because I want to paint it like that because I want people to give themselves the opportunity to not always feel like someone's attacking them
hmm
because it's easy to not deal with triggers when you feel that the attack is intentional. All you were doing was hugging me. You was gifting me something and it was still painful because I have not dealt with the trigger. So I would say when you feel those triggers, look at it from a physical perspective. This is what's going to always happen if I don't deal with the trigger. How do I deal with the trigger?
Yes.
I have to acknowledge and give myself the permission. I don't need nobody else's permission, right? Let me free someone up. A person can give me the advice all day long. They can give it to me in a kind way, they can give it to me in a
hmm
frustrating way, and they rightfully could feel frustrated. However, I don't need their permission on how I deal with my triggers. What I do need is to deal with my triggers so I can have better relationships,
Yes.
better communication skills, If you in that place, sis, bro, man, woman, and you like, I don't know how to deal with these triggers. I don't know. Mine was transparency. So when I was going in settings where I was work, church, or just casual relationships, I started to become transparent so they would know what they were dealing with or be aware of. And in my moments of transparency, people was able to share with me their moments, people who had overcome it. So I could identify, it was clearer because I was transparent. What you have to do with your triggers is you need to talk about them, get them out, write them
Hmm.
down, acknowledge them. Okay, every time I come in this restaurant, something in here triggers me. Go talk to your parents. Mom, did something happen to me when we used to go to McDonald's? Did something happen in there? If I got 2 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had, uh, I used to get anxiety when I would go to McDonald's. Right. And what happened was when I was young, it was a man, I witnessed a man when I was in line and he had a severe seizure. And when he hit the
Mm.
floor, it was like, "Ah," and you could hear his head hit that floor on that pavement.
Oh.
It was so messing, it messed because I witnessed it. And then he hopped up and he rubbed his head and then it happened again and my appetite left. So every time I would pass a McDonald's, drive by a McDonald's, I was triggered. I didn't want to go in no McDonald's.
Hmm.
And it could be something that simple. It could be something that simple. You don't always know where the triggers come from.
That's
Sometimes
true.
you have to have someone to help you. And therapy led me to, oh, I forgot about that. I forgot that that happened
Mm.
because the therapist can help you unpack. What happened when you was 7? Tell me where you used to like to eat. What was your favorite color? And you don't even know why they asking you. And when I first started therapy, Murray, I used to get so
It feels
frustrated because
silly.
I'm like,
Yeah,
why you need to know what
it feels
color my
silly.
favorite color was at 7? But it would lead somewhere. So if you don't know, just start transparency, start sharing. Hey, when I'm around in this situation or when I'm in this situation, I'm triggered. I get overly, I get full of anxiety. I have to leave. I need to leave. I get frustrated easy. Everything gets on my nerves. Those are triggers.
Hmm.
So just be transparent. Yeah.
I think that's so good. In the aspect of because I think one of the realities of healing is honesty. And if you
Mm.
eh, you brought out a very important part when you said that because you have to be honest not only with other people, but you got to be honest with yourself as well.
With
You
yourself
got to be
first.
able to
Yes, primarily.
acknowledge internally that I have something quote unquote wrong, or there is something that I need to address. And I think
Mhm.
that's so important in the aspect of healing because there are a lot of people um, that cope, but they don't heal. And those two are not synonymous, although they both are needed, right? And I'll give an example. Uh, Coping, let's say someone breaks their leg, right? And they either have to get in a crutches or a wheelchair as they heal. Well, coping says, I'm learning how to still do life while I'm either in this wheelchair or I'm using these crutches. But if I only stay at the coping phase, I will never get to my full
Ooh.
effective healing part.
Mm.
Right. And I think most people are stuck in the I'm just learning how to cope with my issue rather than the intentionality behind healing. Because healing, coping is not the climax of healing, it's the beginning process. You learn how to
Yes, yes,
cope
yes,
and
yes.
deal with as you start the process of healing. But healing is the end goal, right? And we understand that in and of itself, healing is a process. It is not just something that you can. I'm okay. I'm healed today. No, no, no. It doesn't work like that. It's going to
No,
take time.
no.
It's going to take effort. It's going to take pain.
Mm.
It's going to take
Hmm.
if you look at it from this perspective to whomever is watching, sometimes healing can feel like looking at that scab or that wound and going back to make sure that it's not infected. And you have to you have a wound that it looks healed on the outside, but there's an infection up under the surface. And sometimes
Mhm.
the process for healing takes you to have to go into that wound and pull out those infectious parts, because if you do not,
Woo.
you will not heal properly. And so I think it's so important that you're not only honest with other people, but that you're honest with yourself in the aspects of, this is something that I must get together. And I don't have to get it overnight. Let's take the pressure off of whoever is listening. It will not happen
Mm.
overnight.
No.
It will not happen overnight. It will take, and it may take years, but be consistent with the journey, because at the end of the road, it is going to yield you much better results if you stay consistent and persistent with your journey of healing. So I think that was an amazing point that you brought out as it pertains to being honest. So I wanted to ask you this. Is the what would you say is the biggest myth about healing that you wish people would stop believing?
But kind of goes back to when you asked me, is there ever a time in my life where I compared my healing? Um, Ones who compare their healing process to yours. And I know people don't mean any harm, and I know they mean well, but just because you overcame it that way, we both experienced the same thing, and it didn't. And that's the kind of the mindset I had with
Hmm.
my dad, which is why said later on, I fast forward to my maturing. I felt like my dad cowered out, and he didn't, he just, if I experienced da 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 da, and it didn't take me down the road that it took him. So unhealthy. But it's the ones that projects that onto you. And that was my humbling place because I found people doing that to me. Well, that happened to me and I didn't act like that, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that. Well, no, but it made you become self-righteous.
Hmm.
And and
Hmm.
it's because healing, if you ask me, tomorrow this answer may change. Because as of today, healing is a maintenance that is forever.
Yes, I would agree with
So
that.
comparing, if you're not comparing in an inspirational way, right? So dang, I would get inspiration from people. Dang, you went through that too. Oh, and they blah 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 blah. Blah. They didn't. Even if you do it that way, it's still not going to be the same. You still got to know what that blow feels like. You still got to know, understand why you experienced the blow. And that is the key to healing.
Yeah,
Because the over and over question is, why did that happen to me? And that's the part of
yeah,
healing we like to avoid, and we like to blame. We either blame it on our spiritual belief, or so we attack our God. We blame it on our parents because if they only would have raised me this way. So we find different ways to blame instead of flipping it and saying, why was that my blow? Not to become so religious, but I get so much inspiration from Jesus. He was a very, very transparent
of
man
course.
when he was in the garden and he was asking his daddy, why are you taking me through this? But every time he would keep his mind sound by saying, but not my will, let your will be done.
Your will be done. Yeah.
But my question was always, was he asking because he really wanted an answer, or was he asking because he didn't want resentment against his father, so he had to get it out? Why are you letting me go through this? Because I would say the father had told him what he was going to have to do. So was he asking because he understood that it's not healthy to keep it in? Or
Hmm.
was he asking because he really didn't know? Because I think he knew his assignment was he got to come down here and die for the redemption of the sin of his people or the lost sheep, right? So, and he was his father's only begotten son, so he knew he didn't have any other siblings. So why was he
Hmm.
asking that? Because that's what pain wants. Pains need an answer. A blow needs an
Mm.
answer.
Mm.
Or a blow needs to be, after a blow, you need to release.
Hmm.
Because he never got a specific answer. He already knew. So why was he asking? If you can, let this cup pass from me. But not my will, let your will be done. That is the human part that we become prideful in on in our healing because we don't want to feel like something is trying to take us out. You understand what I'm
Wow.
saying? But that
Yeah.
has that part of Jesus' fear, his anxiety in that moment when he needed answers. I have been in that moment with my healing. Why did you let this
Oh,
happen
yeah.
to me? What you want me to do with this? God, this done took 30 years of my life because I've been, and Lord, like, no, you, d- you try to undo. You can't undo. It's done. But you get your peace when you sit in it. The answer may come in phases. It may come abrupt. It may come in phases. You just never know how the answer is going to come. But be optimistic always in your healing. Don't give nobody else credit for it. Don't wait for nobody else to be approved. Don't listen. Don't be mindful of where you place your care.
Yes. Yes.
Be
Yes. Yes. Yes.
mindful of where you place your care, and don't let nobody be mindful of where you who you're vulnerable with because people like
Hmm.
for you to become vulnerable because it's easy for them to manipulate what they want from you. Yeah. So you'll find yourself in situations, where people can be very manipulative with your vulnerability in your healing
Yes.
process. So just be
Yes.
mindful.
And I wanna throw this caveat out there as well. It's a very simple phrase, but I think it's very powerful. It's okay not to be okay. I think that
Yes.
when a person can definitively realize that I'm not okay and that's okay, I think you've reached a pivotal point in your journey, your process for how you will heal. Because one of the realities of healing is acknowledgement, right? I'm acknowledging
Mhm.
that this is how I feel. And and to piggyback off of what Jamila, what you just said, be careful of those that will say that will tell you how to heal or
Mhm.
to it's okay for to seek out wisdom, right? We all should seek out
Mhm.
wisdom,
Right.
but it is never okay for someone to tell you how to heal. Um, because a person may lose a family member and grieve for a year. It might take you a year and a half, and they can't tell you, well, you can only it should only take you a year. No, because I have to realize, I have to be honest, what we talked about earlier, with how I'm feeling.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm sad.
Mhm.
Right now, I'm disappointed. Right now, my feelings are hurt. Right now, I feel let down. Whatever
Yes.
your emotion may be in that moment, feel it. Just, I would say, don't waddle in it. Right? There's a difference between acknowledging and making your bed there. Uh, that's what we don't want you to do is make your bed there. But what we do want you to do is acknowledge wherever you are, however you come, acknowledge to yourself, this is where I am. And when you can make that pivotal decision to acknowledge where you are, you can get a clear scope on where you can go.
Woo. Yes.
You can get a
That's
clear
good,
scope on
Murray.
where you can go if you can acknowledge exactly where I am. All right. So I'm going
Mm.
to ask you
Mhm.
this: looking back, okay, looking back, what would you tell your past self at the start of your healing journey? Looking back, what would you tell the past Jamila? the the Jamila from years ago, looking back, what would you tell your past self about um, healing or your journey at the start of your journey?
Ooh. It's gonna be me, myself, and I. And when you are healing,
Hmm.
that's the scariest part because trauma loves company. And hmm,
Take your time.
it loves the company of disappointment. It loves the company of self-hate, low
Mm.
self-esteem. low
Mhm.
confidence, no self confidence, uh, it hinders you from progressing to the point where you have no self awareness. And so what happens is you tend to look for approval unconsciously and consciously from people. In my case, it was leadership.
Mhm.
Um, I wasn't aware of it, but I looked at it as I look at leaders as giants
Mhm.
across the board.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing well or if you're in a low place of your life, you're still a giant, right? So I look at leaders as giants because you are in the forefront. We're not side by side. And so I have to be vulnerable around you for a number of hours at a time. Okay. I'm in a position where I'm postured to receive from you. And so I would look for them to be able to deposit it's okay word and da 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 da. And I got that from time to time. I did. But what happens is if you don't have the mindset that it's me, myself, and I, then you'll give them the issue because they ain't doing it well enough.
Mhm.
Uh, you'll perceive it as though they're starting and stopping with you, or they're overlooking you, or you're not doing it enough, and that's why you wasn't chosen. And so when you get to that point where you could tell yourself, ain't none of that gonna work, your beginning, your mid, and your end is you, you, and you. Anything else in between is just to assist. That's it.
That's good. That's good. That's
That's
good.
it.
That is good.
Yeah. You,
Because
you,
it
and
gives
you.
you,
And that's okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it goes back to what we talked about, accountability. I got to be accountable for every aspect of life, regardless. And this is a hard pill, I think, sometimes for people to swallow. And it was for me to swallow. I've been through uh, some traumatic life experiences. And one thing that I had to realize that although I may have been a victim of that trauma, I still have an accountability to heal. I cannot I cannot place the responsibility on the offender to help me to heal. And when you divorce that
Mm,
idea that, well, they did it, so they got, no, it may not ever come. That's the reality. One of the other realities of healing is that what you're looking for out of those people, that person, that
woo,
environment, that place, that atmosphere, it may never come. And you have to
may
be
never come.
okay. You have to be okay
Yes.
with that. And you have to be able to take accountability for your own journey and your own healing. Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody is going to, they couldn't if they wanted to. It's one of those things
Absolutely.
that it has to be done internally. And so I think
Yes.
that's one of the things that um, I hone in on is the fact that I have to be accountable for my own healing. I cannot place that responsibility on anybody else except for me, because that ultimately
Hmm.
I'm responsible for that. Um, so I got another
That
question
was
for you.
good.
Um,
Yes.
if someone is just starting their healing journey, what is one piece of advice that you would give them? Somebody just starting off their healing journey. Maybe they've experienced something traumatic. They've been through a breakup. Whatever the case may be. What is somebody that's just starting their journey? What is one piece of advice that you would give them?
Choose them first. Choose them first in everything. I'm talking about be always okay with it too, because it's going to shape you into the best healthy form of yourself that you
Yes.
would ever imagine. And I say that because what we typically do is when you always process life with your level of toughness, right?
Yeah.
Some people are
Hmm.
tougher than others in certain forms of life.
Right, right.
And what happens is if you that tough person that in a defensive way, like ain't letting nothing, you ain't finna take me out type form, um, you will fight with trauma. You're in trauma.
Yes.
That was me. I had a fight with trauma. Like I felt like vulnerability with me that trauma is going to take me out. So, but the danger in that is avoiding you. That's the danger. You become very tough. You know how to be protective. And that is, with family, da 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 da, friends. You just find yourself tolerating stuff you shouldn't be tolerating because what you thinking you're doing is you think the more you tolerate things, it's proven to trauma that it ain't taking you out, right? Which
Mm,
it trauma sitting back laughing at you like, yeah, I'm taking you out. Because what's happening is you also your defense is a wall, is not a boundary.
yeah. Yeah.
And that wall
That's
is just
good.
keeping everything, you can't let nothing in. And so I was not attending to me. So by the time Jamila turned 45, 47 now, thank the Lord. By the time I hit 45, I didn't know who Jamila was. Every time I was asked that question, who are you? I didn't know how to answer it. I
Mm.
knew internally I could feel it. I could feel it, but I didn't
We
know.
couldn't put words to it.
I couldn't put it into words exactly.
Hmm.
So I learned at 45, oh, I'm not putting me first. That's why I don't know how to introduce me. I didn't know how to
Mm.
introduce myself. And I'm still learning how to do that. So if you starting your healing journey, start with you first. What does that look like? If someone says to me, hey, do you mind doing this? If you don't feel like it, and you know you don't have not feel like it, I'm gonna separate feeling like it and capacity have the capacity. I'm gonna
Capacity.
separate
Yeah.
them two.
Mm.
Words have power
Yes.
because how
Indeed.
you feel ain't got nothing to do with it.
Indeed.
If you don't
Indeed.
have the capacity to do it, don't do it. Don't do it to prove that you in it to win it with them. Don't do it out of guilt. Don't do it out of none of that. If you don't want to do it because you don't have no, I'm not going to be able to do it. Be
Because you're
so
not going to serve a
confident
good
in your
purpose. Yeah.
you're not. You're not. And then you're going to be drained. And what's going to happen is it's going to put a strain on that relationship because you're going to feel like that person is using you. When in actuality, they're really not, or maybe they are, but you just didn't have the capacity in the first place. So start with you. You'll see a major difference. Life will become more easier. Gift yourself something. Start with one thing that you've always wanted to do, but your fear kept you complacent. And give yourself
Oh.
21 days of practice.
Oh.
Just one
That's good.
thing. I be
Yeah.
seeing people in the gym that say, I became 1% stronger today. We want to
Mm.
do things so overwhelmingly. We want everything to be done overwhelmingly in that moment. Now take one little thing. And you know what
Yeah.
my thing
Celebrate the
was?
small wins.
My thing was this. I had to become intentional with something that made me very uncomfortable. And you know of this. Hugging.
Hmm.
Hugging is not my thing. Not my thing. I've been
Yes, I know
judged
that very
by it.
much.
I've been told that my relationship with Christ is not right. If I don't like to hug, it's not Christ-like. Yes, 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 da da da. And so
Uh,
when I started, and when I would say, well, my mom taught us. My mom was disabled, raising four girls on her own, so she had to teach us how to navigate without being so vulnerable. She was
mm.
disabled. Her eyes couldn't be everywhere. So she taught us as kids, you don't hug everybody. You don't connect with everybody because you don't know what spirit you're finna connect with. It's okay to wave and shake hands. You don't have to connect because hugging is intimate. Okay. You don't be intimate with everybody. And I said, oh, okay. So that's the way she raised us. So that's the way we went through life. We didn't hug everybody. Well, when I learned that my mom that probably came from something traumatic that happened in her
For
life
her. Uh-huh.
for her, she didn't want it to happen to her girls. And so that's the way she taught her. Was it wrong? No, I understood it as life got older. So I had to learn to be intentional. So I took the heaviest thing that irks me, and that's hugging. I don't like nobody just walking up to
And
me,
you went around
hugging
and
me,
just
Merlin.
started hugging people.
I do it to still to this day. And it's
Hmm.
still intentional. And I still
Mm.
let people know. Hey, hugging is not my thing, but I'm in a place of intention. That's been 3 years, Murray, and I've been
Uh-huh.
waiting for it to become a normal thing. It might not ever.
All
Here's the
right.
thing, though.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. Don't let nobody make you feel bad that you don't feel good or that it ain't becoming a happy thing for you. God ain't
Yes,
judging us about how happy we're. He judging us off us obedience. That phase of unintentional, unintentional or being intentional, excuse me, is you getting over yourself because life don't revolve around you.
it does
So
not.
when God can see you making steps that says, these are things that I'm getting over myself, that's what it is. Be intentional. And that's what I did. Choose you first
Mhm.
and be okay with it unapologetically. I'm not saying be unhealthy selfish. I'm saying if you know you don't have the capacity, don't do it.
Don't do it.
If you only got
Yeah.
$10, somebody need 8, you don't have the capacity.
Mhm.
Stop right
So
there because I keep going
that
there.
was good. Um, how can someone maintain hope when progress feels messy? How would you say that someone can maintain hope when progress of their healing journey, it looks or seems messy?
Mm. Um, Separating your idea from your reality.
That's good.
Okay. Um, if you know you are you know you, and if you had to spend a day with you and it wouldn't be fun, that's your reality.
Mhm.
And sometimes we don't mess up processing your healing with the idea of what you want to become or that you think you are. Process your healing with the reality of who you are. If you know that you wouldn't enjoy company around you in some capacity of your life, not the idea of who you are. Not the if people wouldn't just do this, if this just wouldn't do that, I would be fine. I'm really a good person. I really am a good person. It's just that when people do da 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 da, it irks me. It still ain't got nothing to do with them. People
Right,
gonna
right.
always be people. People gonna always do things and separate doing something to you versus doing something you don't like. It's two totally different things. Walking past me with a bad odor is something I don't like. Walking past me with a bad odor and deciding to come sit in my lap is something to me. Separate the two.
That's good.
Separate the two and separate your reality of who you are versus your idea. We want people to receive us by our idea of who we are. No, people are going to receive us by our reality. So if you slick mouth, pop
Mhm.
off, quick to da da da, you're going to be perceived by that. And always remember, no one's responsible for presenting you but you. Everybody
Oh,
else is just going to represent you. You present you. Nobody presents you but you.
yeah.
Everything else is a represent. So if you don't like the representation or the representation of you, then check your presentation.
Ooh.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Amen.
And more than
Um,
likely your truth gonna lie in that representation. Yeah.
so we've talked about a lot, right? We talked about
Yes, this is good.
accountability. We've talked about honesty. We've talked about separation between reality and your expectation. We've talked about a lot of different things. If you could wrap up your individual healing journey in one sentence, what would your sentence be?
Mm, wow.
I know that might take some time to think of that one. But if you could sum up your healing journey into a sentence.
This may be funny, but I'm not as tough as I thought I was.
Mm, that's honest.
Yeah.
That's real,
Hmm.
and it's relevant.
Yes.
Because I think too that especially in our culture, we can sometimes adopt this Superman, Superwoman complex. When you're used to being a strong person, people look for you for strength. And I think
Mhm.
that it is there has to be a level of honesty and realization in that because there are going to be times as a strong person that you're not going to be strong. And that's okay. It doesn't mean it doesn't demean you. It doesn't mean that you're less than a person. It just means that you're human. And I think sometimes, again, we adopt that Superman, Superwoman complex that I have to be all of this for other people, that I can't be anything for
Mm.
myself. I think that that's so very real that I'm not as tough as I thought I was. I think that's good. If I were to answer that question, I think my sentence would probably be, ugh, I think my sentence probably would be to realize um, and be okay with yourself because I struggled for
Mhm.
years with, especially in adolescent years, with insecurities and comparing myself. And I don't do it like them, or I don't, all of those
Mhm.
things would try to, it's really in my adolescent years, eat at me. Um, and so
Jesus.
I would say to that, to be okay with being yourself because you are, and hopefully this is speaking to somebody who is listening, that you are unique and you are uniquely made. There will never be another you. There will never be
Facts.
another you. There may be people that may try to uh, imitate you, but there will never
Mhm.
be another you. And so when you adopt that ideology that I am who I am. I'm different. I think different. I process different. I dress different. I am a different person, and you have to be able to accept that because as much as you
Yes.
may try to be someone else, you will never be them. You can
Facts.
mimic the voice. You can dress how they dress. You can try to do all of the things, but you will always be you. You're not gonna go through metamorphosis and turn into somebody else. And so I would
Facts.
I would that would be my sentence is to I've learned and it did not come overnight, but I've learned to be okay with me. And here's
Mhm.
the caveat to that, regardless of what other people may think. Because some people will try to be okay with themselves, but they're timid in it because they're too afraid of, you know, you ever see people that walk in a room like this and they're like, well, what they gonna think?
Mhm.
Do I look right? Is my hair right? Is my makeup right? Is my shoes on the right foot? You're going through all of these things in your head. But I think
Mhm.
the important part is to be okay with being yourself. Because you'll never be anybody else. Um, Jamila,
Powerful. That's powerful.
what do you have any final words of encouragement for our listeners who may be in the middle of their journey, who will be watching you or who are watching us or listening to us right now that may be struggling and they may be ready to give up. They may be discouraged and depressed and down, or they may be in a good place. They just want uh some tutelage, some wisdom in the healing journey. Any final words of encouragement or advice, wisdom that you could provide to them?
Yes. I would have to say, don't delay it. Don't from this moment forward, don't delay your process of healing. Because at times, I'm going a little bit back to the comparison. Even with our traumas, we compare our traumas. Well, nobody experienced this. Trauma makes you feel shame. And so you don't want
Yeah.
anybody to see you how trauma left you feeling. I would encourage you to not delay that. Start your healing process now, whatever that looks like. Do you have to have a therapist? No. And the reason I say no is because not everybody's going to have access to a therapist. Do you need therapeutic moments, yes,
Yes. Absolutely.
you're gonna need therapy. Does it have to
Yes.
be with a therapist? No. And I pray that God create an opportunity for you to see a
To be able
therapist
to
if
get
you don't
one.
have the
Yeah.
means, but you don't need a therapist to have therapy.
That's good.
Okay, you don't.
That's good. That's
Uh,
good.
you got a mirror. You have the power of words. You understand affirmation. You get in a mirror. You talk to yourself, and you tell yourself. You speak the words that you want to hear. I teach my daughter that now. Only say things that you want to manifest. Don't waste your words on things you don't want to come to pass.
Hmm.
So stop saying I can't do this or when I tried it that way before, because that was me. So
Hmm.
be intentional with your words. Let that be where your therapy starts. Choose with the words. Start speaking over your life what things you want to happen.
Yes.
Okay. That's two. Thirdly, always remember this. Man will make you feel like they're more of a giant than they're not. Okay. And sometimes people use your vulnerability and your trauma to hide behind because they don't really want to deal with their trauma. So they'll present themselves as one who has overcome, who has never experienced, and it's because of this. And
Yes.
if you did it this way, it wouldn't happen, and blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. There's no
Hmm.
one human more human than the next, is where we choose to rank in our selfishness. That's it.
That's good.
That's it. We all have had our traumas. We've all had our temptations. It's just where we choose to rank in our selfishness. So remember, there's no one human more human than the next. It's where we choose to rank in our selfishness. Always remember to start with you first. Don't delay the process and be your own therapy for the moment. How do I do that? Speak what you want to happen. Let go of the words that has been hindering you. If you don't want it to happen, don't speak it. When you get in that place of frustration, you feel tight. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, what do I want and what am I going to do about it? Because it starts and
With you.
ends with you.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yes.
Oh my God. That was powerful. Um, yeah, it's nothing else needs to be said to that. That was good. I want to encourage everybody that's listening, um, to be okay, to acknowledge if you're not okay, it's okay. Take that intentional time and build yourself up. Don't look for the claps and the applause of people, because the second
Yes.
that you lean on the claps and applause of people, when those claps and applause stop, it will send you into a shipwreck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Learn how to build yourself up, encourage yourself. Use, as Jamila said, use your words because they do have power. But this episode has been, I can't even put it into words. It's been absolutely amazing. So I want to thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Can can I add this? Because I don't want to leave
Yeah,
it incomplete.
yeah, yeah.
Once you speak those words, put actions behind it. Don't be
Absolutely.
lazy in your healing process. There's
Hmm.
nothing outside of you that's gonna come and do the work for you. Okay. So remember that once I speak, if I want to speak coming out of debt, then I have to learn how to manage money. If I want to be in a
Hmm.
relationship, then I need to learn how to relate. And all that's going to start with you. So it is words and actions. So I just wanted to part that
Absolutely.
in and part that in there.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. 100%. Got to have action with it. And we know we're believers. Faith without works is dead. You can't just believe
It's
something
dead.
and not put the
Yeah.
work behind it to make it come to pass. So definitely needed that little addition there. Well, y'all, this is rather the conclusion of our very first episode, yes, of the Breakout Room. It's been absolutely amazing. Uh, Going over and talking about the realities of healings with my sister here, Jamila. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We thank you to all our
Absolutely.
listeners. If you guys, if something was said, if something was shared, if you could relate, I want you guys to like, share, and subscribe because we do have some new episodes coming out every week, every Friday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I want you guys to be notified when we're coming on with a new episode. All right. Well, that's it for today. Thank you guys for joining, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.